Hey everyone, welcome back to Maniacal Reader. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite reads in 2015. I have 12 favorites here to show you, and I'll be going in order of my least favorite to my most favorite. So let's get started. Coming in at number 12 is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. This is the second new adult romance I read by Colleen Hoover, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. We have 2 main characters named Sky and Holder. Sky meets Holder when she's at the grocery store one day. Holder thinks that he recognizes Sky, but he finds out he was mistaken. Sky likes to run, and so does Holder, so they strike up a friendship that way. As they get to know each other more, and they start a relationship, Holder tells Sky that he once had a twin sister that committed suicide a few years ago. I like the relationship between Sky and Holder in this book. It develops in a genuine and sweet way. I also like how Sky discovers more about who she is, and the fact that Holder eventually learns where he knows Sky from. There are other secrets in the book surrounding Sky's past. If you like a romance that slowly builds in a genuine way, and also characters with complex and deep emotions, I'm sure that you'll love this book. I definitely did. Coming in at number 11 is Deadly by Sarah Shepard. This is the 14th book in the Pretty Little Liars series, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely amazing. In this book, we get more reveals around the A storyline. The girls find out who Helper A is, since this is the last arc in the Pretty Little Liars series. The reveals in this book were phenomenal, and I loved the ending of this book. I didn't expect such a large reveal at the end of this book, since this is so late in the series, but it was absolutely phenomenal, and I could not stop reading. Coming in at number 10 is Crushed by Sarah Shepard. This is the 13th book in the Pretty Little Liars series. In this book, the girls really buckle down in order to find out who A really is, and they go through a list of suspects to determine who A is. There's conflicts with Arya, one of the main characters, and her relationship with a guy named Noel Khan in this book, and that's what makes the A storyline even more intriguing. The ending of this book completely floored me, and I ended up saying "oh my god" 3 times when I finally read the last page. That's how good this book was. I ended up giving it a 4-star rating. Coming in at number 9 was Allie's Pretty Little Lies. This is the companion book to the Pretty Little Liars series. It was published after book 8 in the series. In this book, the reader learns a lot more about Allie's disappearance and how it all came together. We also learn about her relationship with one of the key players in this book. I don't want to give anything away in case you haven't read this series, but this book far surpassed the rest of the books in the series, in my opinion, and it was good to know about Allie's relationship with one other character in the book. Coming in at number 8 is Wanted by Sarah Shepard. This is the 8th book in the Pretty Little Liars series. The girls find out who the second A is, and they actually come to know things about Allie's disappearance more. At the end of book 8, all things around Allie's disappearance are revealed, but the companion book explores those things that ended in the 8th book in more detail. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and I think it was a phenomenal book to the series. Definitely one of my favorites in the series. Coming in at number 7 is Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. This is a new adult romance book, and it's the first Colleen Hoover book I read this year. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. In this book, the main character is Sydney, and she's a 22 22-year-old who is in college for music. She recently moved out of her apartment when he found out that her boyfriend was cheating on her with her best friend named Tori. In this book, she meets a guy named Ridge who is her neighbor, and she finds out that he plays really good music. Sydney and Ridge's romance slowly blossoms, and the reader learns some shocking information about Ridge in this book. I liked how Sydney and Ridge's romance developed in this book. I liked hearing more about Ridge and his background, particularly stories about his childhood. The reader also comes to learn about one of his other relationships in this book, which I think added a serious but nice touch to the novel. The book had a good romance that developed slowly, but it also had a touch of seriousness to one of the characters, which I think added a little more depth to this book. Coming in at number 6 is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. This is the final book in the Hunger Games trilogy. This is a young adult sci-fi dystopian series. I loved how this book wrapped up the trilogy, and I loved the main conflict with the antagonist in this book. I couldn't stop reading this book. I feel that this book was filled with the most action, and I loved this book overall. It was a great read, and the Hunger Games series was actually my first young adult dystopian read ever, so I'm glad the Hunger Games was my first one. Naturally, I ended up giving Mockingjay 5 out of 5 stars because it was just outstanding. Coming in at number 5 is Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. This is the third book to her Infernal Devices trilogy. I loved this book overall. There was so much romance and deep emotion in this book, but a lot of paranormal fantasy elements too. I loved how the relationships wrapped up in this book, and everything was just so beautiful. Coming in at number 4 is Opposition by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 5th and final book to the Lux series. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I loved Katie and Damon's deepening relationship in this book. I also loved the plot of this book because the invading Luxon that were coming to Earth, and how the characters in the book ended up stopping the invading Luxon. Overall, this book was just a great read with some deepening romance and a lot of action. I will definitely be rereading this series in 2016 sometime. Coming in at number 3 is Pushing the Limits by Katie McGarry. This is a young adult romance book, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This was my first young adult romance that I read ever, and I absolutely loved it. This book follows 2 characters. The main character's name is Echo, and her boyfriend is named Noah Hutchins. Echo and Noah Hutchins have dark pasts. Echo used to be a popular girl who was very social and accepted by her peers, but she goes from that to being a social outcast who now has freaky scars on her arms. Echo has flashbacks and bad memories concerning something that happened with her mother in this book. Echo also had a brother named Arius who died in Iraq a few years ago. Noah's issue is that he's kind of a bad boy who is in foster care after his house burned in a house fire, killing his parents. His younger brother and him are the only survivors, and his younger brothers are in foster care as well, just not with him. He is really troubled in this book because he wants to eventually be a guardian to his younger brothers. His younger brothers are in a really good foster home, but he doesn't really trust anyone who's opposed to the idea of him not becoming a legal guardian to his younger brothers, so it's hard for him to trust anyone. Echo also finds it really hard to trust people because Echo has a very controlling father who doesn't really understand her at all and thinks that her interests, such as art, is frivolous. Echo has different family issues that she hasn't dealt with, and the incident concerning her mom is the thing that's troubling her the most. This was a really good book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. The romance in this book developed slowly and genuinely. At first, Noah is more receptive to a relationship with Echo, but Echo eventually comes around once she realizes that she can trust Noah. This was a really good first YA romance for me to read, and I'm really glad that I did. I'll be checking out one of Katie McGarry's other books in 2016. The book taking the number 2 spot on my list is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. This is the 4th book in the Harry Potter series, and this was the first year that I read the Harry Potter series from start to finish. I had read the first 2 books, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, 4 years ago, but this was the year that I finally decided to read the series all the way through, and I'm glad that I did. This series is definitely phenomenal. I liked this book because I liked the introduction of new characters from other wizarding schools. I also liked the fact that the characters were a little bit older and starting their teenage years in this book. I also liked the fighting or the bickering between Ron and Hermione, and the fact that Ron didn't like Hermione's relationship with Victor Crumb. I always thought that their fighting or their bickering was funny. It made me see the possibility for a future relationship. I also liked Harry's relationship with Cedric Diggory since they helped each other know about the challenges beforehand in the Triwizard Tournament, so it was nice to see their friendship. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars because who wouldn't give 5 out of 5 stars to a Harry Potter book? It definitely rocked. And the number 1 spot for my favorites list this year is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I loved the conclusion to the series. Everything wrapped up so nicely. I liked the fact that Hermione, Ron, and Harry found all the Horcruxes in order to defeat Voldemort once and for all. And I really liked the deepening of relationships in this book, particularly Harry's romance with Ginny, since Ginny always had a crush on Harry and always liked him in previous books. I definitely like the acknowledgement of Hermione and Ron and their romance with each other. So this book definitely had tons of action and a lot more romantic elements in it than the previous books in the series, which I loved. This book was definitely phenomenal. The way that the plot twists and turned and slowly unraveled was awesome. J.K. Rowling definitely created a masterpiece in writing the Harry Potter series, and this last book was my favorite of all. Those are all of my favorite reads in 2015. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are interested in the other books I read in 2015, I'll put a link to my 2015 reads list that's on Goodreads below so you guys can check it out. That's all for my video today. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Oh, it's up to